Welcome to the Awakened Goddess Show, your source for inspiration, wisdom, and personal discovery. The place to learn from a diverse mix of mentors, metaphysical experts, spiritual leaders, and best-selling authors from around the world. I'm Angela Wilkinson, intuitive coach and founder of the Awakened Goddess Academy. Join me as I explore the minds of my masterful guests while they share powerful insights and easy-to-use tools you can start using right away. Now, let's tap into the energy of the Awakened Goddess and be enlightened by today's guest. Cristin Zegers is a beacon of light for people who are seeking more peace, more joy, and a deeper connection to their authentic selves. She has a calming way about her as she attentively listens and guides others from a place of love and reverence. As a mother of 3, a wife of 17 years, and a previous marketing professional, she has a way of connecting with women and men living seemingly typical lives and ignites a flame of possibility for a life more extraordinary. Cristin is skilled at shifting and enhancing energy through her work as a life coach, aromatherapist, Feng Shui consultant, and Reiki practitioner. When she's not helping people polish their mojo, she can be found paddling her kayak on the Chattahoochee River in Georgia, deck surfing with fine wine and fantastic friends, wiggling to live music in the third row, or wandering the countryside in her vintage camper named Rosebud. Now let's welcome Cristin to the show. Welcome to this episode of the Awakened Goddess Show, where we co-create powerful, conscious conversations on the leading edge. Today I have Cristin joining us to talk about Feng Shui and how to use it in our life to bring more love and fun and abundance into our lives. So welcome, Cristin.
Thank you for having me, Angela.
Yeah, I'm excited. You know, Feng Shui is something that for a long time I've been fascinated by. I have been this person that has this almost like psychic awareness of like spatial, my environment and how things are laid out. And I have often found myself moving things around, shifting things, like redecorating. And at times in the past, it's been like people would come to my house and be like, oh my God, you moved things around again. So I'm wondering if this is like the same experience you've had.
I call that intuitive feng shui.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right? You start to feel like some shifts need to happen, and a lot of us just naturally go to that, especially those of us that are really creative. It's a great way to move that energy and be creative and playful at the same time. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you move your stuff on the outside of you, and the inside starts to change as well.
Yes, I love that. It's like a way to gain a sense of control over maybe if we are feeling chaotic or not motivated or something inside where we're feeling a little stagnant. I love just being able to control my environment to really like boost that energy and shift it up. So I'm really
Absolutely.
excited. Yeah. I'm looking forward to this conversation because I'm always enjoying to find new ways to move my things around.
Awesome. Well, we can talk about all sorts of ways to do that with intention.
Nice.
That's my favorite way to decorate and design.
Yes. Well, okay. So for those that have, I'm sure pretty much everybody on the planet has now heard of Feng Shui. It's been around for thousands of years. Mm-hmm. But why don't you give like the basic framework, what it is and how it can affect our lives, just in like a broad sense?
Sure. It has. It's an ancient art and science from China. That there's several different schools of feng shui, if you will. Some use compass directions, others, the form school, don't necessarily, they use other tools and methodologies. But the idea is that we have an intimate connection. Ourselves, our bodies and our spirits have a connection to our environment. And I think it's just practically understandable when you think about places that you've been where you're so uncomfortable and you can't wait to get out of there. Mm-hmm. The energy is weird. or even after you've walked into a room after somebody's had a big fight, or somebody was spent some time like in illness in a space, you walk in and you feel a heaviness, right? And then in turn, there's also other places where you go where you just love to be and you want to stay there and you want to revisit over and over again because it feels so good and energizing to be there.
Yeah.
You know, that's an example of how the energy of our space affects us personally. And so we can use that, and that's what Feng Shui is about. It's becoming aware of how the energy moves through your space and arranging your furniture and decorating, choosing colors, patterns, textures, and elements to enhance different areas of your home with the intention of enhancing those areas of your life that live in that space. Mm-hmm. There's different life energies kind of reside within different areas within a home. And so there's different elements and different ways that you can use all of those facets of design to enhance and boost those areas.
A lot of people are always interested in two areas, I'm sure, and that's love and money. We're all wanting better love, better relationships, more money. So let's talk about where are those areas in our homes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are two of the top areas that clients come to me for advice on. And the first thing I like to say is that everything is connected. So when you work on one area of your life, it's going to enhance the other areas of your life as well. And I can talk a little bit about that as we dip into the love and the money areas. So in the kind of Feng Shui that I practice, I studied a Western Feng Shui. So it's really a style of Feng Shui that's geared towards the way we live in the Western world and in modern times, as opposed to ancient China. Mm-hmm. It doesn't use a whole lot of the traditional Chinese symbolism, although when we want to address certain issues in a home, sometimes those do come in handy to use. But the style that I use approaches each area from the vantage point of the front door of your home. So in the U.S., at least the part of the country where I've always lived, a lot of us enter our house through the garage or through the back door or the kitchen door, something like that. So I always like to remind people that the front door is a very important place in your home. It's where the good energy, or what we call qi, enters your home and begins its flow pattern. So I always encourage you to use your front door, your formal front door, at least once every day, even if it's just to check the mail or let the dogs out or something. So when you're standing at your front door looking inside your home, the love and relationship area is in the far right third of your house. So the kind of the far right corner.
Because with the bagua, it's like a square of like 9 squares, right? 3 by 3.
Right. It's a grid, kind of like a tic-tac-toe grid.
Yeah.
And you lay it right over the floor plan of the main level of your house. And you pretty much just divide it into 3 equal blocks lengthwise and 3 equal blocks depthwise to create that grid. So, and it's almost never going to fall where the walls fall in your house. So you have some areas that bridge across a couple different rooms and some rooms that have more than one life energy area within them. But if you have a floor plan, like a blueprint of your house or something like that, you can measure it out and sketch it out, or you can just do a simple, graph paper and pencil and a tape measure are my favorite tools.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be complicated.
Yeah. So just quickly, how does this apply if you are in like an apartment building or you are renting a room in a bigger house or something like that?
The same thing applies. It's all based on the main entry to your space. So if you're in a Right. So if you're in an apartment, you want to consider it from the door where you enter your personal space. Same if you're renting a room. And in fact, even if you have a whole house, you can take the Bagua map and apply it to every room in your house based on the main entrance. So your bedroom, for example, you can intentionally design your bedroom based on the Bagua for that specific space.
Cool. Okay, so the relationship area is the back right third.
Correct. So the back right corner.
And money is?
The back left corner.
Okay,
Yep.
good.
So when you're standing at your front door, and this might be flip-flop on the camera, but when you're standing at your front door, if you look to the far right area of the main level of your house, that's love and relationship, and the far left area is what we call wealth and prosperity. And in between those two, just so you can kind of imagine the whole
why don't you tell us what
the house
each section
is fame and reputation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have on the back left, we have money and prosperity. In the center back, we have fame and reputation. Right back, this is like a quiz. Right back, we have relationships. And then what do we have moving forward? What's in the second row, the middle row?
The absolute middle of your home, when you draw this grid out on your floor plan, the middle is the center gua, and that is your well-being. That is the essence of who you are. That is where you're connected to your highest self. And if you think about it, from that place, you can touch all the other life areas very easily. But what in our society these days we tend to do is a lot of people are not really grounded. They're not spiritually centered. And they're moving at such a pace to keep up with society. It's like they're running on the outside, like a hamster wheel, going from money to love to creativity to spirituality, but never really getting centered where things come with more ease and you can kind of touch all the areas of your life from a very centered place. So that's a very interesting place to work with on the Bagua map and in people's homes, because the center of a house tends to be weird places like hallways or closets or stairwells. But you can work with everything. So everything has a way to work with it and finesse it to make it work for you.
Yeah. Well, and what's funny is what I immediately thought was, if I were thinking about a room, in the center, you typically have the main center light.
Good point. Yes. Yeah, I just had that seventh chakra, the light up above, seventh chakra opening idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
Nice. Bring the light in. Okay, so then what are the second thirds on right and left sides?
So as you're standing at your front door and you're looking at the right side of your home, children and creativity is in the center third. And on the opposite side of the house, along the left plane of your home, is health and family. So that's another place where I talk to a lot of people. They come to me because they're having health issues that they just can't seem to figure out in traditional Western medicine, and they want to start to investigate some other ways of approaching getting healthy again. So that's a big one.
I imagine fertility too.
Yeah, for both of those, really. I mean, that the cross guas, these different life areas in the home are called guas. The Bagua is the entire unit, and then each section on the grid is called a gua.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. So children, and for fertility, children and creativity is an important one to look at, as is health and family.
Sure. Okay. And then what's in the front? We're kind of working backwards.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's all connected. So it's all cyclical. The front right corner of your home is knowledge, and is helpful people and travel.
Ah, yes.
Mm-hmm. The center is career, and this is all on the front, the front wall of your home. And the far left third is knowledge and self-cultivation. That's wisdom, and it's a very quiet and still area.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sounds like a great place for an altar.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so in these front sections where we have our door placed, how does that affect that area?
That is just where the energy flows in. So it's something that you can just be mindful of. If your home is skewed towards the right, like if you're looking at the front of your home and it's not centered but it's skewed towards the right, then it's most likely that your energy is entering in through your helpful people and travel area, which could be great for welcoming helpful people into your life, networking people or great friends or service providers that are going to help you when you're struggling with something, and also travel opportunities. On the flip side, I have a lot of people who might have a garage in that area and they feel like they're traveling too much with their job. So that's like that area is activated because the energy is entering the home through that area. Although that's not the main door of their house, but that's where the garage, that's a coming and going place. And so it's active energy in an area that they want to slow down a little bit.
That's interesting because travel is something that I am really feeling like I want to do. And that is where my front door is.
Oh, awesome.
So I'm like, because I even put one of the little crystal balls in that corner. I was like, come on, like, we got to get the energy going. So I want to get to like remedies and stuff in a little bit. But yeah, so for me in this travel area, what would it be that I would want to do? Because it's not like I can't, like, there aren't any shelves there. It's like right at the corner. I have a closet on one side and the entry door on the other.
So first of all, what's the condition of your closet?
Very organized.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Color coordinated. I have my suitcases, in fact, on that front end. That's a new thing. That's interesting. Wonderful. I think I have my passport in there.
Look at, again, intuitive Feng Shui.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So this is the way that I really like to work with the different life areas in our home. I like to set intentions and use affirmations.
Okay.
So if you are really wanting to travel to somewhere you really would love to go first?
Europe.
Okay.
Do you want me to be more specific?
As specific as you can.
Well, let's see. We'll go with France.
Okay. We'll go with France. France sounds good.
Eiffel Tower. Or, the Ireland. I mean,
yeah, awesome. So one thing you can do is you can almost make a vision board or cut pictures of places that you want to go, because we know when we can visualize and we can actually see pictures and be able to imagine ourselves in that setting, it helps to attract that into our lives. That's one of just the tools of manifesting. So you can take pictures like that and put them on the inside of your closet door.
Oh, so not on the outside?
Unless you want to.
Okay.
You'll see it more often if it's on the outside, but if you don't want everybody else to see your magazine clippings or whatever on the outside of your door, you can put it on the inside. Whatever floats your boat. But that way you see it and you're reminded every time you go to that space. And it helps you to start to align your actions with what you really want to create in your life. So if that trip to France is something that you want to prioritize and every time you go to that closet to get your coat or your purse, you see those images and it reminds you, oh yeah, I'm about to go to the store and maybe I'm going to curb my spending because I know I want to save for this trip that's so important to me.
Nice.
It just starts to align all the energy with your intentions.
I can see how that would work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it's like on the subliminal or the subconscious level where you're getting that, it's like an anchor because then you keep seeing that and then, yeah, so that's great. And we can really apply that to anything in any area in our surroundings, whether it's for a relationship or money or travel.
Absolutely. What is it that you really want? Why do you want it? How do you want to feel when you're having that experience? And really to immerse the space with that feeling and that intention. And then anything that you can use as anchors, pictures, as I said, quotes or affirmations are great. And then there's also in some areas of the home, the helpful people in travel doesn't happen to be one of the areas that has specific elements assigned to it, but love and relationship, for example, if you include fire in that area, it helps to enhance that energy.
And then conversely, would like water like temper it down? Is that how it works?
Yeah, there's actually, that's another big principle of Feng Shui, is working with the 5 elements of water, fire, wood, metal, and earth. And ideally, in Feng Shui, we're taught that the natural world is created with a combination of those 5 elements. So when we have them in our presence, we feel most at ease and most harmonious with the natural world. So like when decorating a room, for example, not necessarily paying attention to what life area falls in that space, but just holistically looking at the space, it's nice to have a representation of each of the 5 elements to create a feeling of harmony in the space. And so, yes, there's a way that those elements work in a constructive cycle and in a destructive cycle to kind of amp up certain elemental energies in a space.
So in love and relationships, if we want to bring that in, we add fire. And then
it represents passion and,
hot.
Yeah, absolutely. An important part in that area, though, is if you bring in fire with, let's say, candles, or even lights or lamps are a representation of the fire element. In that area, we always want to do it in pairs. Because in a relationship, it's, you want to be paired and you want to have a balanced and equal relationship.
Sure. Yeah. And so I know in like your bedroom, you can do like pairs of like the nightstands. And
yeah, you always want to have equal. It doesn't have to be matchy, but you want to make sure that on both sides there's a table, there's a good reading lamp, that there's a balance, so that each person is equal on either side.
Sure.
Yeah.
You make space for the other person.
Right. Absolutely.
What happens in a situation if your bed is shoved up on to, like, say you have a really small bedroom space, because sometimes you find houses and the darn bedrooms are like the size of a postage stamp. But what if you have your bed like pushed up against the wall? Is that really going to dramatically hamper your ability to attract love?
You mean like one side of the bed is against the wall? Like it's kind of tucked in a corner?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
that's bad feng shui.
Well, I just don't like to use the word bad. I say there's a better way to do it. That's actually really a supportive thing to do in a children's room. It helps to give them a sense of security and comfort. And depending on where you are, like if you're looking to attract love, then that's not the ideal placement for your bed. But let's say you're coming out of a nasty relationship and you just want to feel safe and you just want to nurture yourself for a little while, that could work. It all depends on what your intention is again. But if you are in partnership, or if you're looking to be in partnership, I would encourage that person to angle their bed in the corner if at all possible. I know it's tough in small rooms, but that's definitely a more auspicious way to position the bed.
Mm-hmm. Now, so what it sounds like, I know that some schools of thought use like the numbers and the directions, and that gets a little more complicated. Is that a different school of thought?
Yeah, that's a different school of Feng Shui. That's how I first started. When I first started dabbling in Feng Shui, I studied to be a Feng Shui practitioner 14 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a long time ago. And so prior to that, I picked up some books. I had first read about it in a magazine, like a home magazine. And I was like, well, this is interesting. So I picked up some books and I started studying the Compass School. And I couldn't understand how, if my husband was supposed to sleep with his head to the north and I was supposed to sleep with my head to the west, how we were going to make that work. So,
Yeah.
And then I discovered the Form School, or the Black Hex School of Feng Shui, and the Form School is what I ended up studying from a school in Southern California.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we don't have to try to navigate our way through the directions and the number system. That's good to know, because that really did confuse me as well. It was just like made it so it wasn't even fun. I was like, heck with this. I felt like every time I was messing it up, or I was like, oh no, I'm not going to do it right.
Right. Well, when Feng Shui began, they organized whole cities around directions. They created from scratch. And now we have these homes, and most of us don't have the luxury of going and building something from scratch that is all facing the right compass directions and considering our numerology and all of that. We have our space and we have to work with what we have. And that's what I like about the kind of Feng Shui that I practice as well. And I just think it's a really great way to, you mentioned this a little bit at the beginning. I find that Feng Shui is a great way to tackle overwhelm. So when we're feeling overwhelmed in our lives, we can kind of stop and look at the areas of our home and be mindful about how we're keeping our home, how we're arranging our home, how we're treating our things, and know that that's all a reflection of how we're keeping and treating ourselves.
Yeah.
I really like looking at the intrinsic perspective of it in addition to the extrinsic, how they're connected.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because everything has energy. And, if you're watching now and you're feeling overwhelmed, I definitely encourage you to watch a few episodes ago, where we talk, Yola Mehmeti and I talk about decluttering and releasing things. And that's a very powerful process. And then, so I think that that's a great place to start, and then come back and watch this and start applying these things to your life. Because, yeah, if you have a bunch of clutter, that is so draining. I'm really, I really like decluttering often. And so I was like, I'm not going to find much. But when I really went through things very intentionally, like item by item, there were quite a few things that I realized I was holding on to them year after year, just because I felt like I had to.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and it's very interesting to notice where those clutter spots are in your home, and ask yourself if that could be a reflection of what's going on in your spirit or in your mind, where you might be having a lot of confusion, or you might feel stuck in your life. A lot of people tend to gather clutter in like laundry rooms. This is what I found with the clients that I've worked with. We tend to spend a lot of time in laundry rooms.
Dirty laundry, airing out the dirty laundry.
Right. The good thing about it is you can get really playful in that space because most people, most guests or whatnot, don't often come into your laundry room. So you can paint it a crazy supportive color, or you can have murals or pictures that really, as you're folding laundry, help you hold the intention of what you want to create in your life. But if your laundry room is in your health area and it tends to be a chronically cluttered space, maybe you're suffering from a lot of congestion a lot. You know, it might show up in a health issue as congestion. If you can think about the connection between physical clutter and kind of that congestion in your sinuses.
Yeah.
You know, or
That's
constipation or something like that, like kind of blocked energy, because that's what happens with clutter is energy is designed to flow. So it's designed to enter through your front door and then flow like a stream, as opposed to rushing like a river, or getting stuck and stagnant and kind of pooling and getting stagnant in areas where there's clutter or areas where you don't pay attention.
That is so interesting.
Can I tell you an example and give you a story?
Let me share something that you
good.
just like illuminated for me, because just recently I moved again. I like to move things around. So I moved I have my bed and my desk side by side, and they're basically taking up the whole space where the health is. And I was just thinking about this morning, I have been having sinus issues probably about that same time. And it's been curious to me because I have been going back and forth to the, between two different houses. And so I was like, is it an environmental thing? Like, am I allergic to something? But because it's consistent, I'm like, I wonder if that has something to do with it. Like, there's no energy getting to that area.
Right. You want flow.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to shift some things around and see how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Spray some eucalyptus oil, make a eucalyptus spray and spray some of that to help to kind of clear that energy and clear your sinuses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the story? I want to hear it.
We, in my home, when finances get tight or when I want a particular amount of flow, maybe around the holidays when I'm buying a lot of gifts or when I'm planning a vacation or something like that, I try to remember to go and visit the wealth and prosperity of my home. And that happens to be our storage room, which is in kind of, a constant cycle of destruction. Mm-hmm. Then we go in and devote a lot of time and get things reorganized to create more flow and vibrancy in that space. So, and again, every time my husband and I go down there, I'm like, remember, we're doing this with the intention of creating a flow of abundance to come to us. And it does. You know how it feels when you like tackle a junk drawer or a closet or something like that. You like, you can breathe and you want to go back and look at it over and over again. But one time, it was back when my 3 children were little, they were babies and toddlers. My husband started his own company, and that meant that we had to invest a lot of money and had to kind of live on less for a while. And one day I was getting really frustrated with it. It was really hard. And I was in the backyard with the kids, and I realized that the lowest spot on our property is our wealth and prosperity area, because you can lay that on your entire property, that Bhagwan map on your entire property. And so, of course, the lowest spot is where all the balls roll, in the backyard, and it becomes this kind of graveyard for dead balls. So I went down there and I started kicking all the balls back up to the main part of the yard, and there was a little dead bunny down there in the corner. And I was like, oh, this is just awful feng shui. So we cleared out that whole corner. We had a little ceremony for the bunny, and I hung some bamboo chimes, which is a traditional Chinese cure to elevate energy because that is the lowest area of my property. Hung some bamboo chimes from the tree out there, and it just made me feel like I was doing something purposefully that I could to support our situation and our healthy flow of abundance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you just need to pay attention.
Yeah. Well, and I think that just the fact that you feel better and you feel more, abundance comes in so many forms, and feeling good and, enjoying our surroundings. I mean, that is being abundant just in that. So,
Yes, a gratitude practice. That's there's kind of sacred words for every life area of the Bagua. And for the wealth and prosperity, it's gratitude. That's the sacred for that area.
So, okay, let's talk more about the prosperity area because we want to see dollars. Show me the money, right? So let's talk about what we can do to inspire and welcome prosperity and wealth and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, gratitude, having a solid gratitude practice is a really great first step. To really, on a regular basis, a lot of people either start their day or end their day with this, whether it's in a journal or even just taking a few reflective moments to think about what you're grateful for. Super powerful and important practice to have. Another really important area in Feng Shui for money is your stove.
Now, I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah.
I've heard the toilet. You want to keep the toilet seat down.
Yes. Yes. Toilet seats down.
Yeah.
Yes. Drains closed. If, if you have like a bathroom, let's say, in your wealth and prosperity area, absolutely keep your toilet seats down and keep your drains closed or covered when you're not using them. That's another just great little tool.
Yeah.
But your stove represents abundance. It represents money. So you should treat your stove, your whole range, whatever you have, like it is made of pure gold. Make sure that it is clean. Use all of your burners equally.
And not just the front two.
Yeah. We all have our favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, absolutely, if one of them breaks or if some part of your stove breaks, get it repaired immediately. Welcome in those helpful people to come and fix your stove for you in the name of your own abundance and wealth.
So I wonder why it represents money. Is it because of like the alchemy or?
Yeah, I think that it is like that's the representation of being able to provide, right? When you can cook and feed your family and your friends and provide in that way, it's abundance, If you think back to where Feng Shui began, kind of the hearth being the place where
home is where the hearth is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
So anything else in the in the money area?
Yeah. There's really supportive colors to use in that area. Purple is the most powerful, kind of like a royal purple. So this is a place to put like your most expensive and exquisite items. So if you have a crystal decanter that was a lot of money or was very precious, or other things like that you can use to decorate fine artwork. But the color purple helps to enhance that, along with other jewel tones. So sapphire reds and or sapphire is blue, like ruby reds and gold and silver, all of those colors are very, like, you can use them in draperies, you can use them in pillows or paint the walls. It's just a great place to have things that when you gaze in that area, you remember your own abundance and you get that feeling of having fine things, you know? And it's another place too, like if travel is something that you really want to do, like I know when I wanted to go to Italy, I got these paintings of these Italian villages and I hung them in that area so I could look and I could be like, yes, when I've made it, I'm going to be walking through these little villages in Italy.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I know when I get home, I am going to completely shift my space because my that bed that I was talking about is right in my my money corner.
Oh.
And I put like a jar of like things that represented money underneath my bed in the corner, but I think I need to like really shift it up.
Ah, shake it up a little bit. Well,
Yeah.
that's a great luxurious bedding. Like
Yeah.
if you have like really high thread count sheets that just feel so yummy to crawl into, that's great for the wealth and prosperity area.
Uh-huh.
A really awesome pillow that just,
I have gold and purple over there.
oh my gosh, you're so good. You're,
Like I said, it's a psychic thing.
yes. And you know what too? Like good design is good feng shui most of the time. And good feng shui most of the time is good design. So creative people and people who enjoy decorating and playing in their space oftentimes do practice a lot of intuitive feng shui.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the energy flow. So, because what I've heard before is that like where you have your door or like a hallway, that's where the energy is kind of just moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
And like you don't necessarily want to have your bed straight in front of a door, or
Mm-hmm.
you want to shift the energy, like if you have like a mirror or a window. I want to talk about those kinds of things.
Okay. Um, yes. First of all, the bed and the door thing. This again is rooted in, old school China feng shui. And that is, in China, they move dead people out of a room feet first. So you never want to be laying on your back in bed and look down past your toes and see right out your door.
Yeah.
That alignment, that's a no-no in feng shui.
Is
And
it?
of course, if there's nothing else you can do, there's always cures that you can use to fix it. But most of the time, you can scooch over the bed just a little bit so you're not directly in line with the doorway.
So that's new and old feng shui.
Yes,
Okay.
that's just the rule.
Okay.
Yeah. And also like it, especially, and again, like it's best if you don't have a window over your bed when you're sleeping, because when you're resting, your energy kind of flows out the window. A lot of times there's not a lot of options for how you place your bed. And first of all, if you sleep fine, then don't worry about it. If you feel energetic in the morning, if you don't feel drained and, have slumps in the afternoon, then don't worry about it. But if you do, and that's where your bed is pushed up against that window, you can get really heavy drapes to close at night or get a really substantial headboard that kind of blocks and protects your energy from flowing out the window. Those are some cures for that. And really, like the only other places, like I mentioned before, you want to promote a flow of energy that's like a stream and not like a rushing river. So if you look down a hallway and it's just a long hallway, or if you think about stairwells, like energy tends to shoot down stairwells, you want to do things that cause the eye, where your eye goes is where the energy goes. So maybe in a hallway, have pictures evenly staggered down the wall that draw your eye to it. Or lighting can work for that.
Yeah.
And in a stairwell, for example, a lot of people like to stack pictures going down along with the stairs. It's best to hang your pictures horizontally in a stairwell to kind of slow down that flow of energy down the stairs.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all these really subtle things that that we don't realize can affect our our thoughts and our feelings. And so I love that we're getting to the fine subtleties of feng shui.
Well, once you learn it, it's so funny. You never see your space the same again. And you realize that you really do have a connection to your space, and you start to treat everything you own with more tender, loving care, There's ways you can work with plants that help to kind of break up a strong flow of energy in one direction. Or you can go the more traditional route of hanging crystals from red strings, and that helps to disperse energy as well.
Oh, so that disperses it. So maybe having that in my travel corner isn't the best thing.
Well, crystals are really auspicious wherever they are. I wouldn't say that it's not a good thing, but if the travel isn't happening, try removing it and seeing if things shift.
Yeah, because for some reason I thought it would attracted.
Well, it does. Because it brings light in, and then it what's the word I'm looking for? It radiates that light all around, especially in corners that tend to be more stagnant. And crystals are very auspicious things, but it helps to, in a case where there's a long hallway or when there's a window at the end of a hallway where the energy can go right out, hanging a crystal there helps to circulate that energy.
So this is kind of out of left field, but I'm wondering, can we feng shui our business?
Like your actual business?
Energetically? Is there a way to do that?
Energetically. I'm sure there is. There are people that specialize in wardrobe feng shui, like feng shuiing your self.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a way to do it with your business.
What about your desk?
Absolutely. My desk is feng shuied. So I'll show you in the love and relationship area of my desk. Pink is the supportive color for love and relationship. I have 2 candles.
Nice.
I have a pink candle, and then this is a Himalayan salt.
Yes.
So it's also purifying my workspace. And then I've got a cute little picture of my husband from our honeymoon.
Oh.
A long, long time ago. But when I come down here, I light these candles and hold the intention that as I sit here, the work I do and my thoughts and my actions are always in support of my strong relationship. And if I have any special intentions that, on any given day, when I light that candle, I take a moment and hold those for myself. I also am playing with a rose quartz, which is, a great stone to use in that area, a great crystal to use in the love and relationship area.
Yeah. So, and I love this point that you're talking about, the intention, because I think that we move so fast that we focused on the doing, and that I think we're kind of going through this shift of coming back to being and being really present with our thoughts and our feelings and getting those in alignment with what it is that we want.
Yeah, so many people I talk to don't even know what they want.
Yeah.
And that's one of my core beliefs, that that stillness and our relationship with ourselves is one of the things that we have really been neglecting at the pace that we're all operating on, that we don't take the time to slow down and really reflect on our lives and look at how far we've come and celebrate that, and then really say, where do I want to go and how am I going to get there in integrity with who I am and what's most important to me.
Yeah. Mm,
That's the energy of the knowledge and self-cultivation area that we
nice.
talked about. Yeah.
Yeah. So, are there common mistakes that people make in feng shui when they're like trying to do it, or maybe they're not, and like what are the common mistakes that
Mm.
you see?
One big one that I see, and I work with a lot of entrepreneurs on this, is the power seat, how you position your desk.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
there are a few things, your desk, your bed, and then like you can even think about this when you're seated at a restaurant or something like that. But you always want to have a view of the door into your space. Again, that main door into any space is a really important location.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the chi, that's where the good energy, the opportunities, the abundance flows in. And so you want to be facing it. So, for example, right now I'm diagonal to the door into my studio space, and that is considered the power seat. A lot of people might, like, I have a window behind me, and they might want to look out the window, which is understandable. Um, but that would put my back to the door,
Mm-hmm.
which in our subconscious always leaves us guarded. And that's not a way you want to feel when you're running your business. You don't want to feel like somebody might sneak up on you or somebody might stab you in the back or something
You're right.
like that.
Right.
Yeah. So to set up your office, and it's considered the power position in the power position. And so if you think about when you're sitting at a restaurant and you have one table that's facing the, or one chair that's facing the wall and one that's facing the expanse of the room and the way that you enter into the space, that's a better position to be seated in.
Yes, I do have a friend that she's like, whenever we go out somewhere, she always wants to sit in the power seat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's probably more of a type A person. My husband's the same way. Now you can, if there's nothing you can do, you can work with mirrors, because
Mm,
mirrors help. If you can set a mirror on your desk so that you can always see when somebody approaches from behind, then that can break down some of that defensiveness that happens within us. So,
mm-hmm.
there's always ways to work with things.
Yeah, is that preference better than like if you were to put, those like those room dividers, those pretty I don't know what they're like
Screens or
the
whatever.
screens.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now I have where I usually do record my show is I have these beautiful shelves with all of my favorite things on it, but then the door is literally right here, like right
Mm,
next to me, and my back would be facing the door.
right,
So,
right. Yeah. Yeah, and I understand, like, you want to curate a pretty background.
yeah.
That makes sense. Um, and so if you could record your shows that way and then even like flip your chair to the other side of the desk,
Mm.
then you could see all of your things when you're doing
Yeah.
the rest of your work.
Yeah, right? Yeah, that's a great point. And then as we're talking, I'm thinking that where my fame and reputation area is, I have a big, huge picture window. So what the
Mm.
heck do you do there?
Does it by any chance have a peak like this?
No.
Because this is a big fire area. Fame and
Oh.
reputation is a big fire area.
On
So,
either side, I have like really beautiful, shiny, like burgundy, like a royal burgundy uh,
of
curtains
course you do.
with little pretty beads.
Hmm. That's an awesome fire element for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, like holistically, you want to look at that room and you want to look at all the elements in the space, being mindful that probably a large portion of that is your fame and reputation, which is all about how do you want to be seen in the world? What do you want to be known for? What's your zone of genius, your area of expertise? Um, how do you want people to think of you when they think of you?
I'm
And that,
laughing because the word that came to mind was transparent, and how perfect that there's a window there.
There you go. There you
Yeah.
yeah.
Everything's like a matter of perception.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have another little fun story if we have time for it.
Yeah.
When I first became a Feng Shui practitioner, one of the first consultations I did was for a friend of mine. And we were walking through her home, and she had this duck decoy, um, from hunting
Yeah.
on her like mantle. And it was all shot up,
Oh
like
no.
half of the beak was gone, and it was just a mess. There were bullet holes in it. And I was like, what is the story with this? I'm not a big hunter myself, but I wasn't going to judge her and her family and what they were doing. That was fine. Um, and my initial thought was, this was at the beginning, was this can't be good feng shui.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "Oh, this is a memento from the first time my husband went out hunting with my dad." This was from their very first trip together. And she just lit up when she was telling me about it. And I was like, okay, lesson learned. Like, it is all perception.
Yeah.
Our things hold on to the energy of our memories and the stories that we attach to them. So, for good or for bad. So that's
Mm-hmm.
another opportunity to look at what you have in your space around you and ask how it makes you feel and what it represents for you, and decide if it's something that you want to keep or you want to let go of.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, we all deserve to be surrounded by beautiful things that we love, and this has just been such a fun conversation, and the idea that we can be playful and intuitive and creative with our environment. I just love that because it's such a part of who we are. This
Mhm.
energy that we're surrounding ourselves with all the time. And so, thank you for sharing your wisdom and all of these. I mean, we just like talked about so many like cool little tips and things that, I mean, I can't wait to go rearrange things.
Oh, good. Well, I hope there are some tidbits that you can take away and use today.
Yes, yes. So many, so many. And I
Yeah.
hope that you that's watching and listening also took some fun tips away. And I would love to hear, I'm sure that Cristin would love to hear as well, how you might be changing things in your environment and how that affects you. So thank you, Cristin, for joining me today. This was such a delightful conversation. You're so much fun. So thank you.
Mm. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Awakened Goddess Show. I hope you enjoyed today's guest and got something you can start using in your life right away. For more spiritual insights and to listen to more episodes, subscribe to The Awakened Goddess Show at theawakenedgoddess.com and discover wisdom that'll change your life.